Tonight, students across the GTA prepare to finally head back to school.
We've come to the conclusion that we will be reopening to in-person learning tomorrow.
Toronto's two major school boards and others across the GTA are set to welcome students back on Wednesday after being delayed by Mother Nature. Plus,
my street is pretty much unplugged right now.
There's a priority order in which this will get done.
the dig out continues. The city asking for patience as crews work to clear local streets and get transit back in service. And
overall, I think we're actually seeing some of the signs that public health work is working.
Cautious optimism from health officials that the rate of COVID-19 infection might be starting to plateau. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. After being delayed by Mother Nature, students across the city will be returning to school tomorrow. Both the Toronto District and Catholic District School Boards have announced their schools are reopening for in-person learning in the morning. Jessica Ng has more on the preparations.
After more than a month, students at Toronto's two biggest school boards head back tomorrow.
Snow clearing operations in and around board properties, busing. We've come to the conclusion that we will be reopening to in-person learning tomorrow.
Before they enter the classroom, students will need to complete revised screening tools by paper or on the TDSB's screening app. They now reflect the province's directive to self-isolate for 5 days following the onset of symptoms. The new measures, detailed in Education Minister Stephen Lecce's letter to parents, they include free 3-ply masks for students and N95 masks for staff. What isn't ready yet are the rapid antigen tests.
They had to be broken down into smaller shipments to go out to schools, instructions included, and we needed to order thousands of bags to do that.
The tests are to be used by symptomatic individuals who will be required to take 2 rapid tests 24 hours apart, testing negative twice before going back to school. The actual shipments to schools delayed by yesterday's blizzard, just like in-person learning, which was set to start Monday. Instead, this is how many kids spent the day. But the new measures, which include an additional 3,000 HEPA filters not arriving until at least late January, aren't enough for opposition leader Andrea Horvath.
We should be making sure that testing can be done. We need to be tracking where those cases are so that we have an understanding of what's happening in Ontario.
Or Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Del Duca.
We need Doug Ford and his government to make the effort and the investment that's required to make sure that this last closure of in-person learning for our kids is the very last time that this needs to happen.
We've got 5 months until the end of the school year. What are the hopes?
It is our sincere hope that we are coming to the peak of Omicron. We'll have to wait and see.
Both Peel District and Catholic school boards will also be reopening tomorrow, as well as public schools in York Region and Halton. Durham District School Board, meanwhile, anticipates schools will reopen. Jessica Ng, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, the dig out from yesterday's big blast of winter is continuing. Mayor Tory says crews will be working 24 hours a day to clear the streets until the job is done. And as Chris Glover reports, they still have a lot of work to do.
Virginia Lowe says those not building forts are building stamina.
The neighbors are great and we kind of tag team and we all make it work.
But for many, the work is overwhelming.
I did not know where to start.
Even with a snowblower.
It's a beautiful day, but another day of hard work. This is my 4th attempt to clean my driveway.
While Imran Siddiqui is finally making headway, he wonders, where's the city's crew?
I don't think I saw any plow. You can see my street is pretty much unplowed right now.
His frustration far from isolated.
This year, city increased the taxes. What is the service we get it?
The goal is to have a second round of plowing done on local roads today.
The mayor says crews are on the way, but local streets, sidewalks, and laneways are last on the list to expressways and major routes.
There's a priority order in which this will get done, in which it is getting done, and that I would thank people for the patience they've shown so far.
Western and 401 on ramp. People are trying to get in the highway.
But even the regional highway system remains a mess in some places. The break of dawn revealed the problem: abandoned vehicles. Do we have any idea, I guess, network-wide across all 400 series highways in the GTA, how many stuck and stranded vehicles were there overnight?
I don't know.
Various lanes and sections of highways completely shut down again today to clear the way, but nothing like yesterday when we introduced you to Suki Sidhu, trapped in his taxi on the 401. I am so glad to see you at home, my friend.
Yeah, man, it was a lot. Yeah, it was an ordeal.
His ordeal ultimately lasting 9.5 hours, while the DVP and the gardener were entirely closed for much of the day yesterday to facilitate clearing. Sidhu can't wrap his head around why that didn't happen on the 401.
There you see a jackknife truck there, you see 2 trucks over there, you see a couple cars over there. I mean, all of that could have been avoided if they had just shut it down, just like they did with the DVP, and just cleared it out and let everybody flow again.
His faith in humanity was restored, though, from one young couple.
And one had a duffel bag, and in the snow, knee-high, on the highway, they were walking, giving cookies and water. And I really wish I could have got the names, because that was a wonderful thing. It was true Canadian spirit, and that was the one thing that kind of uplifted everybody. Be like, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. We'll get out of here.
Late today, the Ministry of Transportation says that all of the vehicles that were stuck and stranded on regional highways have now been cleared, and they say that they're going to be doing a full assessment in the days ahead to figure out just how many people and vehicles were stranded on the highway during yesterday's storm, but they say that that could take days. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
Transit workers were also among those digging vehicles out of the snow today. More than 500 buses became stuck during yesterday's storm. Now their union is calling for a review, saying the TTC's struggles were largely the result of poor planning. Ali Chiasson has more.
Yesterday's wallop of snow has stuck with us. Buses were still stuck on slushy roads all over the city.
Our crews are working overtime to get as many of these vehicles back into service as possible. We do still have between 300 and 400 buses that are still out there, and they're being manually dug out because, of course, the plows have now gone around them.
At the height of it yesterday, about 500 TTC buses became caught in the snow. One of the more memorable videos from the storm was when passengers of this Jane bus gave it a push in the middle of the road, no less.
We appreciate you guys. No problem, brother. Yeah! Keep going, bro. Keep going.
The Transit Workers Union doesn't find this so amusing.
I think the TTC unfortunately didn't plan appropriately. There's opportunities to try to plan and forecast regarding service. They kept putting buses out in areas that were not able to function.
They're calling on the TTC to come up with a new plan to better manage winter weather.
In my opinion, they're actually impairing snowplowing emergency services getting around the city.
Suggesting that when the snow reaches a certain level on TTC routes, service is paused until plows can get through, preventing their vehicles from getting stuck, as about 500 of them did yesterday.
A bus that's stuck, blocking an intersection, blocking access for vehicles and residents to get in and out of an area, were actually, I think, harming the opportunity to help the whole city move.
We also saw GO buses becoming stranded when roads were closed. Passengers and drivers were stuck for hours.
They were patient for hours on end, and I have to really give them credit for that.
Metrolinx reduced its service this morning, running fewer vehicles along their routes so they could return their vehicles to their stations and thaw the rest of the infrastructure.
The signals and the switches to make sure that they aren't snow-packed or have ice all around them. We understand it's going to be a deep freeze again tonight, I think, and we have to make sure everything is cleared off so it doesn't freeze on top of a really critically important infrastructure.
While Metrolinx is thanking their passengers for being patient, the TTC thanks the public for their helping hand. Not only did we see neighbors coming out to help give buses a push when they got stuck, some people actually came out to give meals and snacks to the drivers who were stranded. We don't have an ETA yet on when some of these buses will be towed away, but they certainly are working on it. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's some terrifying footage of a near miss in Brant County. My hands are sweating just watching this. A county snowplow captured this video of a car trying to pass it and almost driving directly onto an oncoming truck. Luckily, no one was injured. The county is asking everyone to be patient with the plows as they do their job, reminding residents that you are safer behind a plow than in front of one. Let's go to meteorologist Colette Kennedy now. And Colette, as the cleanup continues, attention now turning to the temperatures.
Well, Kelda, you know, we've got some changes coming, especially in the temperature pattern, although there's some other things going on too. But I want to start with that because it's really important because of all this snow that we have on the ground. So actually through the overnight hours, as opposed to our temperature going down, it's going to be rising towards morning. And in fact, that won't even be the daytime high. We'll likely get up to 3 degrees or warmer. And then in the afternoon, cold front goes through and those temperatures will fall off significantly. Why that is so important is because with that snow, we'll get just a tiny bit of melt that we'll be experiencing, only a little bit because it's so short-lived. We'll also add in some light precipitation, just some wet flurries, a trace to a centimeter or two. And even in the morning, in fact, it'll be mixing. But that's what happens with the mild conditions. So you'll get that glaze kind of on top, which will then refreeze as that very cold air comes in. So tomorrow, especially early in the day, is the time, although it'll be breezy, to try and take care of as much as you can so that when it refreezes, you're going to be safe. So temperature going up overnight and then falling tomorrow. Kind of a flip-flop there, Kelda.
All right, thanks so much, Colette. Turning to the pandemic now, and some cautious optimism from health officials today that the rate of COVID-19 infection might be starting to plateau. However, hospitals are still under immense pressure at the moment. Talia Ricci has more, including what some health experts say can help with that pressure.
Finally, some COVID-19 news that feels hopeful.
Overall, I think we're actually seeing some of the signs that public health work is working.
The most recent data show that there are reasons for cautious optimism.
Today, the CEO of the Ontario Hospital Association said in a tweet, the rate of new admissions to critical care does appear to be decelerating.
I'm seeing a greater proportion of patients who are vaccinated and not having severe illness.
Toronto's top doctor said it's too early to know for sure, but initial indicators show the rate of infection may have plateaued or started to decline. But spread is still high, so she warns public health measures remain critical for a safe return to school and an eventual return to normal.
We've learned from our own experiences that going too quickly risks the progress that we have made.
It was exactly 1 year ago today that the city opened its first vaccine clinic. And Sunday, it's hosting another mass vaccination event at York University. While vaccines are an important measure, one epidemiologist says there are additional solutions to helping hospitals that are facing pressure.
Most people, if they have Omicron, will develop generally mild symptoms. But we need guidance on what to look for that would make you a candidate for going to the hospital.
Dr. Prabhat Jha also believes oxygen meters should be more widely available, a tool that has proven to be successful at UHN through its virtual care program.
So that is definitely something like a thermometer we might want to be having in our homes as we go forward. And definitely people should not hesitate if they feel like they need to go to the ED, severe chest pain, challenges with breathing. But there is a lot that you can do online, and it really helps to save not only a trip for yourself, unnecessary exposure potentially, but also the time that it might require waiting in waiting rooms or getting appointments.
An announcement from the province on public health measures is expected later this week.
We have been doing this for a very long time.
Dr. Aaliyah Duramsey remains optimistic.
I know how hard it is to hear things like cautious optimism and feel like you really believe it. But I think we are, as a city, doing a really good job.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Toronto police are investigating after a man was shot and killed overnight in Etobicoke. Police were called to the scene just before 3 o'clock this morning. A man was found with a gunshot wound inside a building. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Homicide detectives have taken over the investigation. The victim has been identified as 24-year-old Andre O'Neill Atkinson. He's the city's 7th murder victim this year. Anyone with information is asked to contact police or Crime Stoppers. Two paramedics in Hamilton have each received 18-month sentences for their role in the death of a teenager. A 19-year-old Yosef Al-Hasnawi was shot inside a mosque in 2017 after he intervened to protect an older man being accosted by two people. The paramedics, Stephen Snively and Christopher Marchand, were found guilty of failing to provide the necessaries of life. They will serve their sentences in the community. It's the first time paramedics in Canada were found guilty for their part in someone's death as a result of their actions while on the job. A Wasaga Beach woman has been missing for almost a week now after being abducted from her home. Today, the OPP provided more details about what happened.
There was a knock at the door and 3 males were there. They were described as black males. They were wearing police-issued gear, not full police uniforms, but police-issued gear such as vests.
Police say the men claimed to be police and said they were there to arrest 37-year-old Elnaz Haj Tamiri. Another person in the home became suspicious and attempted to call the real police, but he was overpowered by the suspects and Haj Tamiri was abducted. Police say she may have been taken away in this white SUV, which has since been recovered. They say the motive for the kidnapping is still not clear. Welcome back. We're just over 2 weeks out from the start of the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing, and tonight there are concerns about an app all attendees must use. It's meant to keep Chinese health officials up to date on their COVID status, but some security experts in Toronto have already found a serious flaw. Katie Nicholson has more.
In just a few weeks, thousands will be logging on to Wi-Fi at Olympic venues like this. And when they do, they'll be using this app, My 2022. Many already are. The Beijing Organizing Committee requires participants to use it to upload daily COVID tests before the games begin. But cybersecurity think tank Citizen Lab says there's a security risk.
Someone using this app can actually connect to like someone intercepting the traffic, so they can read the traffic, they can modify it.
When an app connects to a server, it usually first verifies the server's authenticity, so you don't accidentally connect to a fake server. Citizen Lab found this app doesn't follow that verification step, which means data can be intercepted by a malicious third party.
You're inputting a lot of sensitive personal information like your passport number.
As bugs go, cyber experts say it's an easy one to fix.
It's strange that that's an issue on this app, and maybe the Chinese authorities or the organization that's providing the app are working to solve that.
This app also features a currently dormant directory of blacklisted, politically sensitive words connected to topics like Tibet, the Uyghurs, and Chinese leadership, which could be used to censor messages.
It is not uncommon for Chinese apps or a Chinese website to have this list there. When there are certain sensitive words popping up, it will be flagged.
It hasn't addressed the Citizen Lab report, but the Beijing Organizing Committee told Chinese state media the app passed review by Google, Apple, and Samsung. As for Team Canada, they're leaving personal devices at home, but even on temporary phones, they will still have to use the app. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
You're looking at a live shot of downtown Toronto. Cloudy with flurries tonight and heavy at times. Temperatures have been rising a little bit. Currently, it's -3 in the city. Let's go back to Colette now. And Colette, temperatures rising, then dipping again as we look ahead to tomorrow.
Thanks, Kelda. Well, we have a system moving through an Alberta clipper, in fact, clipper, because they move very quickly, which is good for us. We have enough snow. We don't need to get a bunch more out there. So it doesn't allow for much precipitation, but it does raise the temperatures and then it drops the temperatures and allows that very cold air to push in behind it. So a little bit of a trace to a centimeter or two is possible, but it's that warm up that we'll be seeing tonight into tomorrow morning with breezy conditions to go along with it. And then as everything cools down and refreezes, we could get into some very slick conditions. And so it's why I've really been emphasizing that taking care of any snow or anything that's starting to melt or wet areas tomorrow. There won't be a lot of melt, don't get me wrong. Still a lot of snow is going to be around, but kind of take care of them and treat them so that as things refreeze, you're all going to be safe and there's not going to be any mishaps. So a look at this system as it moves through and you'll see just how quickly. So there's just that reason for a dusting. Again, with the milder temperatures in the morning, any little bit of moisture is probably going to be wet flurries to actually some light showery activity, drizzle in there. Then that pushes away and we get a chance to get some more serious sunshine coming in on Thursday, even though it's going to be cold. The wind's strong tonight and it's the direction that matters with those temperatures. First south to southwest, and then tomorrow as the cold front goes through, they shift more towards a westerly flow, and as that happens, that's why those temperatures fall off. Very minimal amounts where it's enhanced by the lake towards Mount Forest, Barrie, Peterborough, Kingston. Ottawa could even see 5 to 7 centimeters from this, but elsewhere we're really looking at from the GTA back towards southwestern Ontario, not too much to worry about there. So your temperatures rising overnight so that they'll get to numbers like this, even a little warmer than that. Likely Windsor could get to 4 to 5, but that's into the morning hours. This is your temperature for the afternoon falling off. And so then those wind chills will become much more significant. We're going to care more about the wind chill as we get into tomorrow afternoon and the temperatures are dropping. So there you go. They will be short-lived to see such mild readings, which we haven't had in a while. And then after that, it gives you kind of an idea, Kelda, of just how cold that air is that's going to be coming in.
Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, Toronto's kids have also been helping to clean up the snow. 9-year-old Carter Trezzolo spent a long day yesterday shoveling not only for his own family, but for his neighbors as well.
It felt good to help people and not fall and break a bone. It wasn't that bad. The snow was not coming down that fast. But yeah, there was a lot of snow.
I'm grateful for his help. My other neighbor is currently outside again shoveling for other neighbors as well. So it's part of being in a community, and I'm proud of him, and also I think he's hilarious.
Like many of us, Trezzolo took a well-deserved break today after yesterday's hours of shoveling. We need more Carters out there. And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And as we leave you tonight, check out this drone footage of people sledding at Lithuania Park today. Definitely perfect conditions for that. Have a great night, everyone.